War is an expensive business, but beyond the battlefield and the tragic human cost, there's a hidden system of production, finance, and power. The machinery of war isn't just generals and soldiers. It's a web that connects corporate boardrooms, government halls, and the very structure of our economy. The real question isn't just what a nation does in a war, but how its own internal interests shape the conflicts it enters. You've probably heard the term military-industrial complex. President Eisenhower warned us about it in his farewell address. It describes the powerful triangle formed by military institutions, defense contractors, and policymakers. It's a symbiotic relationship. The military needs weapons, corporations get huge contracts to build them, and those corporations then lobby politicians to keep the military budget high, which in turn buys more weapons. But this cycle raises a crucial moral question. How much of modern warfare is driven by genuine necessity, and how much by the pursuit of profit? Let's talk numbers because they're staggering. The United States defense budget allocates hundreds of billions of dollars every year. Every single line item, whether it's for a new fighter jet, a missile defense system, or AI-powered drones, represents not just a strategic choice, but also a massive opportunity for profit, employment, and political clout. This is where national security, economic interests, and political power collide, often in ways that are ethically murky and far from transparent. Lobbying is the glue that holds this system together. Defense corporations, trade associations, and even think tanks spend millions to influence lawmakers. They're not just arguing for national security, they're advocating for policies that benefit their bottom line. In return, legislators who rely on campaign contributions and need to secure jobs for their districts often find it hard to say no. This creates a complex network where the decision to go to war, or to prolong one, might be influenced as much by corporate interests as by actual geopolitical threats. Are we fighting for our safety, or for someone's stock portfolio? The ethical dilemma is profound. On one hand, a strong defense industry supports national security and drives technological innovation. On the other, it creates a powerful incentive for endless conflict, for buying weapons we don't need, and for prioritizing profit over peace. The line between a responsible investment in our safety and outright war profiteering is often incredibly blurry. Political leaders are caught in the middle, trying to balance genuine security needs with the immense pressure from these economic powerhouses. History shows us how this relationship evolved. During World War II, America's industry mobilized on an incredible scale. Factories switched from making cars to making tanks. The partnership between government and private enterprise was direct and urgent. But after the war, those same industrial interests didn't just disappear. They used their newfound influence to shape the Cold War military machine, creating the permanent structures that intertwine profit and security today. Throughout the Cold War, defense contractors became permanent players in Washington. Massive projects like missile programs and nuclear weapons development required constant funding. Lobbying ensured that money kept flowing, influencing everything from congressional hearings to budget allocations. The needs of the military, the interests of corporations, and the goals of politicians became so tangled that it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. This brings us back to that persistent moral question. When war becomes this profitable, does the profit start to drive the policy? The post-9/11 era is a stark example of this dynamic in action. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq generated massive contracts for private military companies, logistics firms, and tech providers. Suddenly, decisions about troop levels and military strategy were directly tied to economic incentives. Some contracting firms made fortunes in these unstable war zones, while government oversight struggled to keep up with the sheer speed and scale of the spending. This entanglement forces us to ask whether our national security goals were sometimes distorted by powerful economic interests. This influence isn't always obvious. It can be subtle. Think tanks publish policy papers favoring certain weapons systems. Former government officials use their connections to become highly paid consultants for defense firms. Campaign contributions create a feedback loop. Money influences policy, policy creates profit, and profit buys more influence. While technically legal, the ethical tension is undeniable. In a democracy, the public interest should come first, not the power of money. Unfortunately, much of this happens behind closed doors. While we get glimpses through congressional reports and investigative journalism, citizens who fund the entire defense budget with their taxes rarely see the full picture. Key decisions are made in classified briefings and informal meetings. This lack of transparency makes true accountability almost impossible and diffuses moral responsibility across the entire system. The consequences go far beyond the budget. The very weapons we develop and the strategies we use are shaped by these economic forces. A new weapons system might be developed not just because it's a strategic necessity, but because it's profitable and keeps factories running. This means our military doctrine isn't purely a military matter, it's a political and ethical one too. For instance, during the Iraq War, private companies were awarded huge contracts for reconstruction and security, sometimes with very little oversight. This led to inefficiency, mismanagement, and decisions driven by profit, with real consequences for people on the ground. Now some argue that a strong defense industry is essential. It keeps us safe, deters aggression, and maintains our technological edge. Critics, however, say the economic incentives can warp our priorities and prolong conflicts. This tension is built into the system. Reconciling our need for defense with our democratic and moral values requires constant vigilance from all of us. Lobbying itself isn't inherently evil, it's a way for interests to be represented. But when the pursuit of profit aligns so perfectly with the machinery of war, we have to ask tough questions. Are we as citizens complicit when profit drives policy? Can we truly have ethical governance when money, power, and security are so deeply intertwined? History teaches us that we can push back. In the past, strong congressional oversight and fearless investigative journalism have exposed and constrained the excesses of the military-industrial complex. But each generation has to face this challenge anew. We have to harness the power of industry for our defense, without letting the pursuit of profit override our principles. At the individual level, soldiers and strategists live with this reality every day. They know the equipment they use is influenced by profit motives. An awareness of this complex system is vital for their own ethical decision-making on the ground. Public perception is our most powerful tool. An informed public can question, critique, and hold our institutions accountable. The media, academics, and government watchdogs all have a role to play in shining a light on these connections between money, influence, and policy. This public debate is our best defense against a system that could otherwise put profit before people. The stakes couldn't be higher. Decisions made in boardrooms and government offices have life and death consequences for soldiers and civilians around the world. Ultimately, the war industry is a mirror reflecting our society's values. It embodies the constant struggle between security and profit, strategy and ethics. It reminds us that our economic structures don't just shape policy, they shape our morality. Responsibility is shared by everyone, our leaders, our institutions, and us, the citizens. We cannot outsource our conscience to contracts or budgets. Understanding the war industry is essential for both strategic planning and moral reflection. It's a landscape where power, money, and human life intersect. We must question and engage with this system to ensure it serves the people, not just corporate interests. Through vigilance, transparency, and a commitment to ethical governance, we can strive to ensure that our national security never comes at the expense of our integrity. The machinery of war is vast, but its moral weight rests on all of our shoulders. Thank you for watching. If you found this insightful, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into the systems that shape our world.